we get started on the platform, it's important to know about how high you're going to attach your zip line to the tree and what kind of attachments you're going to use to ride your zip line. Once you have your height figured out, the first thing you're going to do is install your horizontal support boards. We will be using an 8-foot 2x6 on both sides of the tree. Now, we want our platform to be roughly 5 foot off the ground, so we're going to measure up and use a piece of tape to mark the tree on either side. Don't worry about having the measurements perfect. We'll make sure it's level and square when we're installing it. Alrighty. Now that we have our height marked here, let's go ahead and mark our boards where they're going to be attached to the tree. For our platform, it will stick out about 4 feet, so we'll mark our board accordingly. Alright, now that these are marked, we can go ahead and take our boards and mount them to the tree. We will be using one heavy-duty lag screw on both sides of the tree. Be sure to get your board close to level and screw it in. You may need someone to hold the other end of the board during the install. When you go to install the board on the opposite side of the tree, be sure to use your level to make sure the boards are the same height. Don't worry about having the ends perfectly square. You can always go back and trim these later. Alright, the level looks good. Now that we have the horizontal boards in place, we can go ahead and install our main vertical supports. Alright, we have a 10-foot 2x6 here, and we're going to be attaching our handrail to the top of this board. It's okay for it to be a little bit long. You can cut off the excess later. With the bottom of the vertical board resting firmly on the ground, make sure the two boards are level and square before screwing them together. If you feel like you need some additional support, you can always go back and add some diagonal bracing to your vertical legs. Alright, now that she's standing, we can go ahead and place our intermediate supports. Depending on how long your platform is, you'll need to cut 4 to 5 2x6s to fit in between the main horizontal supports. Actually, that's the one we need. Be sure these are good and squared up before installing. When installing the intermediate supports on either side of the tree, be sure to leave a small gap between the board and the tree so that when you install your anchors, it will have some room to snug tight to the tree. We are using the same lag screws here with 2 on both sides of the tree. Alright, now that these are in place, we can install our other riser for our handrail. We'll be using a 2x4 here. Be sure to cut it a little long so we have some room to play with when we go to install our handrail. That way we can just trim off what we don't need. Now that we got the risers up, we can go ahead and put on the handrails. Alright, time to put down the decking. We're using 5/4 treated decking board here to make sure this thing can handle the weather. We're going to cut these to hang over about 3 inches on either side. Now that these are cut, we can go ahead and install with deck screws. Make sure the first board is square or the rest will be crooked. The last thing to do is cut and install our 2x4s for the stairs. Make sure your vertical supports are good and level before you screw these in. We'll be installing the treads about every 12 inches. Alright, now all we have to do is cut the top of our handrails off. And let's just try this maybe. Well, that was easy.